In this video, you are going to discover the golden question that defines whether you will be a victim of your genetics or the architect of your own longevity. We are going to explore how biology stopped being an immutable destiny to become a project of deliberate design. You know, until recently we thought the code of life was a fixed sentence, but the announcement of the birth of the first genetically edited babies in 2018 proved that the barrier of heredity has been breached in practice. This means technology already allows us to rewrite the human rough draft. Tell me something. How does this affect your routine today? Simple. The era of biological sovereignty has begun, and you need to decide right now if you represent going to take control of this tool or let others program the future of your health. Hello, I am your chronological investigator. Welcome to 2029, the Great Disruption. In Dossier 1, you will understand how the CRISPR mechanism transformed genetic editing into something as programmable as software. In Dossier 2, you will learn about the ethical friction between curing diseases and designing human beings and the danger of creating a permanent genetic divide. And in the third dossier, you will identify the path to radical protagonism, where overcoming biological limits becomes a moral imperative for those seeking fulfillment. Let's get started. Dossier 1, the immediate evidence. The code of life rewritten. Guys, let's be honest. During my 2 years studying medicine in Argentina, I spent sleepless nights memorizing names of arteries and nerves as if they were sacred dogmas, immutable structures nature gave us. End of story. Back then, biology was a destiny. You were born with a hand of cards and had to play it until the end. But what the 2025 cycle report confirmed is that this era of passivity is over. The discovery of the DNA double helix in 1953 gave us the alphabet, but it was only with the consolidation of CRISPR-Cas9 technology that we gained the pen to rewrite history. It works like this. Imagine Cas9 is a pair of high-precision molecular scissors, and the guide RNA is the GPS address that tells it exactly where to cut. This means that instead of just observing a genetic disease as an unavoidable tragedy, we can now program a synthetic molecule in the lab to find the error and delete it. It is the transformation of biology into software engineering. To illustrate, think about the ease with which you learn a new programming language on Coursera. Now, the language is life itself, and the compiler is a bacterial enzyme. The system isn't just capable of deactivating problematic genes, what we call knockout, but also inserting new sequences, knock-in, allowing us to patch the code just like updating an operating system. Write this down. This paradigm shift from observation to manipulation didn't happen overnight, but it is the summit of a climb that started way back in the 70s, when Paul Berg created the first recombinant DNA molecule. However, the difference is that now the tool is democratic, cheap, and accessible to labs all over the world. Honestly, this sends a chill down my spine. The democratization of godlike power. What once demanded colossal infrastructure can today be done with frightening elegance. But be careful with this. Technical precision doesn't eliminate human error. Off-target effects, where the scissors cut what they shouldn't, are still a reality that limits safety. Even so, the door has been opened. The efficiency of 2029 transformed your body into an editable draft. But what will you do in Dossier 2 when you discover that the line separating disease cure from superhuman design is much thinner and more dangerous than your bank balance allows you to reach? Now, let's move to Dossier 2, where you will understand the brutal friction between those who can pay for perfection and those left behind in the natural lottery. Remembering that in our final dossier, we will still talk about the most important subject, that is, the moral obligation to transcend our own humanity. Dossier 2. The friction of evolution, the sovereignty of design. Pay attention here. There is an invisible frontier that, when crossed, changes not just medicine, but the very definition of justice. This frontier is the difference between somatic editing and germline editing. Somatic editing is therapeutic. It alters your body's cells to heal a pain like sophisticated surgery that dies with you. It is what you seek when you book a session on BetterHelp to solve a specific issue. Nobody questions that. The problem, my friend, is when we mess with the germline, with eggs and sperm, then the alteration is hereditary. It passes to your children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. In 2018, when scientist He Jiankui announced the first edited babies, he didn't just violate an ethical norm, he inaugurated the era of human design. I was a kid who got bullied at the priest's school for looking too intellectual and fragile, and I often wished I were different, stronger, fitter. But if my parents had chosen my characteristics from a catalog, would I be myself or a product of their vanity? The philosopher Michael Sandel calls this hyperagency, a desire for dominion that destroys humility and solidarity. If biology becomes a choice, the child ceases to be an unconditional gift and becomes a manufacturing project. Think about this. You open the Capital One app and check your credit limit. Now imagine this limit defines not what you can buy, but how intelligent or healthy your child will be. Historian Yuval Noah Harari warns of the rise of a useless class of non-enhanced humans, solidifying inequality in the genetic code itself. Those who can't pay for the biological upgrade will be obsolete before they are even born. Isn't that wild? No, it is terrifying. Biological meritocracy is ruthless. If your neighbor edits their child to have photographic memory and immunity to cancer, and you leave your child to nature's chance, are you committing parental negligence? Honestly, the social pressure will be unbearable. Freedom of choice becomes the tyranny of optimization. Jennifer Doudna, the creator of CRISPR, has nightmares about this, dreaming that Hitler wanted to learn how to use the tool. The genie is out of the bottle and it won't go back. The friction here is that technology promises liberation, but it might deliver the biggest caste prison in history. See the difference? Before, inequality was social and could be mitigated with politics. Now it can become biological and irreversible. Finally, we have reached Dossier 3, where we will highlight that, despite the risks, there is a sublime vision where this technology doesn't diminish us, but elevates us to a new level of dignity. Remembering that before we finish the video, I will leave you with a conclusive analysis on how to keep your human essence while the world around you becomes post-human. This is because the symbiosis of 2030 protected your health. But how will you react in Dossier 3 when you discover that remaining just human might be considered a moral failure? Dossier 3. The flowering of consciousness. The imperative of transcendence. We have reached the horizon of the sublime. Forget fear for a moment and look at the potential. Transhumanism doesn't view our current biology as a sacred temple, but as a rough draft full of errors that we have a duty to correct. Julian Huxley and Nick Bostrom argue that we have a moral obligation to use technology to eliminate suffering. My mother is 82. When I see her fragility, biology doesn't seem like wise nature to me, but a cruel executioner. Why accept cognitive decline and physical pain if we have the tools to avoid them? That would be masochism, not virtue. The concept of post-human dignity suggests that our essence is not trapped in our fallible flesh, but in our capacity for consciousness and agency. Look at this. You go to Home Depot to get tools to improve your home because you believe in renovation through effort. Genetic editing is the logical extension of that desire, just at a molecular level. The naturalistic fallacy falls apart when we remember that all medicine is interference in the natural. Curing an infection is unnatural. Wearing glasses is unnatural. So why would editing the longevity gene be a taboo? Biological freedom is the ultimate right, the right to be the architect of your own existence. In this 2035 scenario, humanity doesn't end, it matures. We stop being victims of evolutionary chance to become regents of our own evolution. Biology stops being destiny and becomes a project, but this power demands a wisdom we don't yet have. The responsibility is gigantic. The flowering of consciousness happens when we use this technology not just to be more efficient or competitive, but to be deeper, more empathetic and freer from unnecessary suffering. It is the transition from Homo sapiens to something that doesn't have a name yet, but shines with the intensity of a rising star. The question echoing in the silence of your mind is not whether we should do this, but if we will have the greatness of soul to bear the weight of being our own creators. Biological sovereignty is the final test. Are you ready to sign the authorship of your own life? I tell you this because that luminous biosynthesis hub I described at the start isn't a distant dream anymore, but the real foundation where you must build your new sovereignty. Radical protagonism demands that you stop treating your genetics like a sacred lottery and assume, once and for all, the role of architect of your own vitality, transforming what used to be destiny into pure life strategy. And you know what? I demand brutal honesty from you now. How would you answer this question? If the tool were in your hand today, would you cross the ethical line to edit your child's DNA and guarantee them a competitive advantage? Or would you prefer to leave them to the mercy of natural chance while the elite enhances itself? Write your choice in the comments now. No filters, because I want to know which side of history you are on. I am your chronological investigator, and I will see you in the future. Bye.